Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so continuing. So on page Kaf Aleph, in the middle, some from Umizboyer. So again, right now we're discussing, if I'm correct, again, it's been a bit about a week and a half after a long Hasmata week, but we're discussing the concept of Achana. Right now we spoke about, again, in the prelude, what our avoda needs to be in order to get to the point of, obviously, what do we need to do? What's our goal? What's our overall end game? And now we're breaking down the pieces that we need to do. So let's just jump right into it. Umizbar. Shaydei achana. Right? And again, the thing we're talking about right now is achana. Achana is the aspect that we said, and Rav Ari Shiur explains the essential piece. Like if we want to grow, he's like, here's what we have to do. We have to do achana. We have to do achana. He says if you don't do achana, you're not getting anywhere. Achana means showing up before davening. And for some people that could be a half hour and learning something, a good musar. Some people it could be 10 minutes and doing your quick bekiyas chazar. Some people could just be 10 minutes just sitting there and just talking to Hashem in English and just closing your eyes and just thinking. But there has to be some sort of achana or done, or else you're not gonna. It's not possible to connect to the davening. Just throw on your tefillin and run on as the chazal say brachas and go right. We said that this is what we'll be discussing. Umizbar, sha'idei achana, masig es akirva lakadosh baruch hu, atzricha ledveikos betfilah. So as we're clarifying that by way of the achana, that's how we're going to be masig. That's how we're going to achieve the kirva, the closest to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we need to have dveikus betfilah, this connection and kirvas Hashem. Because by the way that we prepare ourselves before davening, that's what brings Hashem close to us. This is a fundamental point. The way that we prepare ourselves, that's what brings Hashem close to us. What does that mean? Someone who davens without any hachana at all. Right? This is kind of like the analogy. This is the analogy we said before. It's like somebody who davens without achana. It's like somebody who cries out to the king when the king already kind of passed by, already missed the boat. Right? That's like somebody who's just like it's kind of like aimless. It's like without any sort of achana. It's just like you already missed the boat. Like you're not doing anything. You're calling out to the king, but he's not there anymore. Just like it's not possible. It's not possible for someone to speak to a king without first entering the palace. So if you want to go talk to the king, you got to enter the palace. The king's not coming to you. You got to go into the palace. Right? Because if you don't enter the palace, how are you going to talk to the king? Right? You're going to be standing outside the gates and what? Try to talk to the king. He's not going to hear you. Someone who davens without any hachana is like someone who's just standing outside and just screaming out. He's screaming outside. He's like 50 miles away, like outside the outside palace gates. He's screaming, "Hello, king! I need this. I need refuah. I need this." And he's just all the way outside. Also. And how is the king going to hear your cries? How is the king going to hear what you want? Right? That's someone who does without achana because you have to enter the palace. And if you don't enter the palace, you're not going to get anywhere. Umevor me'ata. From now we say lama kasha kol kach lechav betfilah below achana. So we have to understand that. Let's clarify. Why is it so difficult to have kavanah during davening, to have intent during davening, to be able to focus during davening without any hachana? What's the importance of hachana here? Why does this seem like such an essential factor? Let's say you're talking to your friend. Let's say you go up close with your friend. You're talking to your friend up close. So you can talk for a long time. Me and Chaim right now, we're very close proximity to each other. I can easily have a full conversation. Me and Chaim can have a good conversation right now. No problem. We can talk for hours right now. Easy money. Right? There's nothing being mafriya us, right? You're literally right in front of me. We're in a back room of us there. We're chilling. We're good. There's nobody here between us. There's nobody here to interrupt us. But let's say, but let's say, me and Chaim want to have that same conversation. But I'm going to stand at the front of this base medrash, and Chaim's going to stand at the back by the door. And what are we going to do? We're going to start screaming, "Yo, Chaim, what's up, bro?" Chaim's like, "Yo, it's good." And we're just like, the same conversation we would have just had right now. You know, that sounds like a really weird conversation, honestly. It just kind of sounds off. But it's pretty accurate. That's pretty much how we talking about it. Baruch Hashem. How many things, how many other voices are going to come and interrupt the kav diburam, so to speak, like the what do you call it? The sound wave, let's say. Right? Like, how are we gonna, if we're gonna be talking from there and there, right? Right here, me and you could talk, no problem. It's very easy. But you hear how loud it is in this base medrash. How are we gonna have a conversation like that? How they go merachak? That's when you're standing far away. Excuse me, I just skipped the line. Vadai shesi chasam tei kraim. It's gonna be very choppy. It's gonna be choppy. It's not gonna work. So kain an nigash tefillah below achana mukdemes how they go merachak. Someone who approaches tefillah like this without any hachana, This is the way the conversation is, so to speak, kiviyachol. Ubeinu ubein HaKadosh Baruch Hu omdim kol inyane ulamo shelo silka mitzdadim. Because what did we say? We said that the point of achana is to clear your mind. That's the idea of achana, right? The point is, whatever it means for you individually to clear your mind, whether that means a half hour of learning Torah beforehand, whether it means 10 minutes of just closing your eyes and just wiping your mind free. The whole point is starting davening with a clear mind, focused on what you're about to do, on tefillah, just clearing your mind of all the shtuyot, of all the other stuff. Because he says, if we don't do that, then all the worldly things are going to be stuck in the way. They're going to be interrupting the sound waves, so to speak. How are we going to be able to have kavanah for more than just a few minutes? Right? We always wonder, how is it so hard to have kavanah? Why is it so hard to have kavanah during davening? Rav Shimshon is saying, I'll tell you why. It's because you don't do achana. None of us do achana. That's why you don't do proper achana. That's why you can't talk. That's why it's so hard to focus on davening for more than 5 minutes without our minds going off to our business or this and that. I deal with this all the time. We all do. Because the point is that if we don't clear our mind, it's like interrupting sound waves. How are we going to have a conversation with two people who are so far away from each other? Right? Move on. Me'ata. We learn from here. Ma'asha chasidim harishonim. What we said before. Harichu me'od ba'achana. Right? We said they spent even an hour on achana before davening. She'achana hi aknisa lifnim. The achana is entering inside. V'kol mash yichnas yoser v'yoser bekiru v'lechadarim ha'yoser p'nimim. And the more you enter, the more deep you go inside, the more you isolate yourself with Hashem. The further inside the palace you go. Then your quality of your tefillah is going to go up as well. Right? So ultimately, the point that he's saying here is explaining to us what the importance of what really is that we're doing achana. It's not just like a nice idea. The whole point of the achana is literally it has a practical benefit, which is clearing our minds, clearing those things that are interrupting us. Because if, let's say, something happens, you have a business deal that's falling through, right? It's very hard to go straight from that business deal falling through right into your davening. Very hard. I ain't even think about it the whole time. Deal with it all the time, right? But if you have the deal that falls through and you get the davening about 45 minutes beforehand, you take a deep breath and you just learn. This is like a strategy. This is like I've seen this. I know this. This is why during Shacharis now. This is why I used to not learn before davening. Years ago. But ever since I started learning and making a real seder before davening of like Pnimius or whatever it is, my davening that's where my tefillah started to go. Because it doesn't matter what's on your mind beforehand. Because then once you just get into it, you just start thinking about Hashem, something about these nyanim that make you happy, remind you that it feels good to be close to Hashem, remind you that it feels good to be a Jew, it feels good to be connected to Torah. And all of a sudden, you don't feel so separate. You feel like more like you're sitting in the room with Hashem, just one-on-one, you can just talk. Rather than if you're just standing on different sides of the room and every single thing in the world is just interrupting. This is the power of achana. Whether you're with the mini or not the mini, doesn't matter. We need to do achana before davening. So let's see base. V'yasod bazeh. Who the tefillah, hu kiviyachol sicha. And the whole yesod of this is all built upon the principle of what? That tefillah is literally kiviyachol, so to speak, a conversation, a sicha between me and you, between me and Hashem, krovei im Hashem yisborach. What's the rule of conversation between the two people? How do we have a conversation? A conversation doesn't just depend on one side, right? Rather, both sides, both parties in this conversation need to have a desire to be in the conversation. A conversation doesn't work if you're talking to a wall, right? You need to have two people. I want to talk to you, you want to talk to me, or else it's not a real conversation. The same concept with tefillah. It's not just enough. What benefit is to us if we come and we want to talk to Hashem? I want to talk to God. I want to talk to Hashem. Nimsa karov lanu beregazeh. Who says Hashem is close to me in that moment? Shenucha ledaberito, that I could talk to Him. I want to talk to Hashem, but who says Hashem wants to talk to me right now? Right? V'yisakin asher ba adam lemakom b'pagisha. And it happens when a person, let's say, comes to the makom pagisha, the meeting place. Right? Let's say you're going to the coffee shop to have the meeting. Hainu the makom tefillah. So too, so to speak, kiviyachol, it's the makom tefillah. You get to your makom, you get to davening. You get to your place where you're going to dive into Hashem. And you have a burning desire to talk to Hashem. But maybe let's say Hashem doesn't want to talk to you. What good does that do? It's a tremendous avodah gedola in and of itself. To be mapik ratzon, to elicit the will of Hashem. That from Him, on His side, that from His side, we want, that He also wants to have the conversation. What are we saying here? Obviously, again, the point is that obviously we know that Hashem always wants to talk to us. That Hashem desires it. But what's the level of our conversation? The idea is that we're supposed to imagine these concepts, so to speak, kiviyachol in human terms. Obviously, Hashem always wants to talk to us. But the point is that Hashem wants us to relate. Hashem wants us to understand. What's that level of connection look like? Understand it like we're talking. Hashem says, listen, I'm always here for you. You know that. Of course, it's a vada. There's it goes without saying. But it also goes without saying that we know there's different levels of this closeness. Again, Hashem is everywhere, kiviyachol. But again, how close are we in these moments during tefillah? How much do we, from our own end, how much do we tap in? How much do we connect? Hashem is the same. Hashem doesn't change. Hashem's closest to us is the same. But how much do we tap into it? How much do we change from our perspective? And Hashem is trying to relate, and he's trying to relate to us right now. That it's not just a one-way thing. Just because we want to talk to Hashem, that's not enough. Right, we have to listen. Right, and this goes like this is not such a crazy. And this sounds. I remember when I learned this years ago. I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I was like tripping out. I'm like, what does it mean? Hashem doesn't want to talk to me sometimes. This is crazy. I'm gone. And the concept is actually not so crazy at all. Right? Think about it. Think about, for example, let's say I want to connect to Hashem. I really want. Hashem, I love you so much. I love you. But before I come, like, I love you more than anything. I really want to have this cheeseburger. I just really want it. Really want it. I love you so much, though. Okay, good. I ate it. Now I'm good to go. It doesn't work. What kind of think about how flawed that sounds, right? Just because you want the connection, it doesn't mean that necessarily that, so to speak, that in that moment, in the same veracity that you want it, that Hashem wants it. If you're not doing the right things to merit that conversation, to merit that type of situation, then what are we even doing, right? If you're just sitting there spitting in God's face, saying, "Okay, now I want to talk to you," right? Hashem's like, "Excuse me, what is this?" Obviously, this is on a much less extreme scale, but that's the concept here. So, v'hu yesod b'klalos inina kavana b'tefillah. This is sorry. Yud tough. Yisbarach. That means Hashem. Good. So, v'hu yesod. This is a yesod. This is a foundation. B'klalos inina kavana b'tefillah. This is the yesod of the inina of kavana b'tefillah. The hine kasher nisbonen. When you really contemplate it, nireh she'adavar hu tmiya b'pliya. It's mamish a tmiya. It's a pliya. It's a pele. It's the davar of wonderment. It's an amazing thing. It's something that's mamish mind-blowing. Heyach bezman sherubeinu boim lispala b'amuna kano she'anu omli mamish ifnei abari yisbara shmo v'nosim imo. That what do we see? We see so many times, so many people that come to David b'amuna shlema, mamish b'amuna shlema, and what? And they have true and sincere amuna. And they come and they start talking to Hashem and they just want to talk to Hashem back and forth, nosim im Hashem, back and forth. Hashem, like mom, is just like giving it their all, speaking it all. V'lefanov anu mischanenim, begging Hashem, umeito anu mevakshim, and saying they were asking Hashem for everything. V'yizbara shmo mazi lanu umashiv dvarenu kashi yedaber ishareu. Right, all these things. V're'eu makshi v'shumei elav, just like a friend hears it. But lama imken, if this is the case, I efshar lanu lahachzik ritzifus hamachshava afil lizman katzer me'od. He says, but the truth is, he says this is such a fundamental question. Saying we know all these things. We know these points are things that we all know. That when we speak to Hashem, Hashem is there with us. Hashem will give us anything. Hashem is like our friend. Hashem is like our father. Yada yada, all this stuff. We know that. How is it possible that the average person cannot just focus for more than a moment at a time? Yeah, Victor. Receivers is continuous, that you can't just why can't we just have this continuous thought process? How come we have these moments of inspiration to just go? We all know this during davening. Like you're literally like mamish. Like this happens all the time. Maybe just because I have ADHD, but it could be. I'm assuming it's everybody else too. But and that'd be awkward if it's not. But I know it is. It's a fact. So, but the idea is that let's say we're davening, and the amount of times that I'm like in the middle of shpakol, and be like, Hashem, please let my children become like gedolei Torah. And this and that, and what did I eat for breakfast today? Man, no, that was some solid muffins. Oh, what are you doing? All right, what are you doing? Come on, get yourself back in the game. Okay, Hashem, please, please in this. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do for lunch? Wow, I don't actually think about food this much. It's just examples. Okay, fine. But ultimately, it's accurate, right? It's crazy. First of all, I say it's a hard, but the point is that's the question here. You're saying, how is it possible? We know these points. These points are crazy. We know them, and we have emunah that we believe. Like they're not like things we don't believe. It's not like we don't believe them. We fully all believe. We have Emunah Shlema, we have Emunah Pshuta, and this is all true. So why can our brains just keep this thought going for a few minutes? What's wrong with us? Seriously. Right? Let's say you're talking to your friend from the other side of the fence. Even if your friend isn't responding to you, you're just talking to your friend. You don't even see your friend's face. But you know your friend is listening. You could talk to him for hours. But on the other hand, we talk to Hashem. our thought just stops in the middle. It just gets all messed up in the middle. It's a mamish wonderment. It's a crazy thing. If you really think about it, it's puzzling. It says mamish puzzling. Hashem just says it's puzzling. This is mamish a question. It's a real question. It's the truth. Right? Even if you just know that your friend is listening to you. You know he's behind the fence. You have a conversation. You want to tell him about your business. You can tell your friend about your business for an hour straight. You don't even have to see him. Right? You sit there on the phone with your friend and you're just listening to you, just venting. Whatever. You can keep the conversation going for as long as you need. There's no thing. So how come when we talk to Hashem, we can't just keep it going? He says this mamish, it's a pella. And it's a struggle that is a validated struggle. We have to understand what to do now. Amna. Now we have to understand what's the reason for this. Tehine kotav haramba. B'mor nevuch. The Rambam writes B'mor nevuch chelik gimel perak non aleph v'zal. Halo bi'arti lecho. Shezeh haseichel. Asher sheva aleinu me Hashem yis'aleh. Right? The Rambam says, I explained to you again that this is like the seichel. So with the seichel that Hashem gave us, hu adobuk asher beinenu ubeino. Right? The intellect, so to speak, is what attaches us. V'arishus nesuna lecho. Im tirtza lechazik adobuk hazeh taseh. Right, and it's up to us. We have the choice if we want to strengthen that dveikos or not. Let me just start that line again one more time. Halo bi'arti lecha. I explain to you. The Kosh Baruch Hu grants us this seichel to connect to Him. Who had davuk? That's the dveikos. Asher b'neinu ubeino. That Kosh Baruch Hu gives us the ability and gives us that dveikos. Hashem gives it to us, but it's up to us. Hashem gives us the choice. If we want to grow this connection, if we want to strengthen it, it's up to us. If we want to weaken it, we could do it too. We have the free will. Kosh Baruch Hu gave us the free will. Hashem gives us the tools and He gives us the connection if we want it. But if we don't want it, we don't have to have it. That's up to us. V'lo yischazek zeh hadavuk rak b'smashek bo b'abas Hashem v'shetiyeh kavanasecha eleo k'mo sheriyarnu v'chalashaso tiyeh b'somcha machshavasecha b'davar zulaso. Right? Because if we want to strengthen it, the way we strengthen it is only by thinking of Avas Hashem and growing our Avas Hashem and having proper kavanah, as we explained, right? Having the kavanah, just keeping a thing. And how do we break the connection off? By thinking about other things. Ultimately, that's what it is. When we're thinking about Hashem, we're connected be'etzem in our seichel to the most fundamental. We're connected to Chachmas Hashem. But when we break that off, we start thinking about sports or anything else. It's over. We lose that connection in that moment, right? Don't worry, Victor. But yeah. Don't worry. don't get too scared yet. V'da she'ata, a good sefer, a good Rav makes you think first. He scares the heck out of you first, and then he brings it back because that's the koach of the Torah, right? That's how he instills it in you. He scares the bejeebies out of you by making you think like, oh my gosh, this and this and that, and then he reconciles it. So it's like you see how it goes there, and then how it's that's what a good rabbi does. That's what a good rabbi does. V'da, you should know, and this is the Rambam. He's a pretty good rabbi. The Rambam is pretty good. V'da she'ata v'lo ayisa chacham sheb'bnei adam b'amita sa'chachma lokis. Right? You could be the wisest person in chachmas elokis. You could be the biggest mekuba in the world. You could have all the chachmas elokis. But kishetipare machshavasecha lemaycha. That's funny, I didn't even do that intentionally. But when you change your thoughts from Hashem to food, that's funny, I just said that. Or some other thing, or some other job, or some other work. It could be the biggest bekulpa. You could have all the Torah in the world, you can know everything. But the moment you change it, kvar piskas hadavuk ahu asher beincha ubein Hashem yisbarach. You broke off that intimate connection in that moment, of that level. Ve'eincha imo us. You don't have that level of Vegas anymore. Ve'chenu eno imecha. And that, so to speak, you're not with him and he's not with you, so to speak. But again, understanding the point. What's the connection between us and Hashem? Asher beincha ubeino kvar nivsak bepoel beisahi ad kan leshono ein sham. Look there for more. Obviously, this is a very intense and scary statement. Very scary statement. Now we're going to break it down. But just to explain what he's kind of saying from the outset. Again, we're not saying Chaz v'Shalom that we lose our connection with Hashem. That's absolutely not what he's trying to say. That's heresy. That's not true. The idea is that we always have to remember that from Hashem to us, so to speak, this is a fundamental concept. There's no shinoi in Hashem. Hashem is Mizgal. Hashem is here. Hashem is here in full force. Hashem doesn't change. Rather, what changes is our perception. Right? The more that we open ourselves to seeing Hashem more, the more connected we are to Hashem. The more we close ourselves off from seeing Hashem, the more we distance ourselves from the connection of Hashem, the less we see Hashem. Right? Hashem is the same. It just depends on how we do that. So the point is, where do we connect to Hashem, the Iker? What is he saying here? The Iker, there's one place and one way we connect to Hashem. It's Beseichel. right? That's with the brain, with our mochin, right? That's ultimately Hashem. The concept of seichel is a very deep concept. That's the way that we connect to Hashem. We can't see Hashem physically. We can't hear Hashem physically. We can't feel Hashem physically. The one place that we have the ikar connection with Hashem, the Rambam talks about this often, is in our brains, in our moach. Right? The Rambam says elsewhere. I think we said it in the beginning of the Chana. The Rambam says elsewhere that the point is the brain is your ikar connection with Shemayim. It's with everything, right? So the point is that when a person, during davening, wherever a person thinks about where he is, that's where he actually is. Right? If you think that you're in the Kodesh Kadashim when you're davening, you're in the Kodesh Kadashim. If you think you're in the heavens, you're in the heavens, right? It's where you think. So the Rambam here is saying, Chaz v'shalom, Hashem is not breaking off the connection with us when we lose that. It's just from our perspective. Then we go, yeah, how big there?
The question was, how do we solve it, like breaks in our kavanah?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the answer? Just like have more.
Great question. We're getting there. Great question. We didn't get there yet. Don't worry. We definitely did not get there yet. Because if we didn't get there, I'd be pretty tripped out now also. Okay. Anyways, Oh, the recording's still going even though someone just called. Okay. Anyways, let's see. Yeah. Okay. You know what? It's a good cliffhanger. Where everybody thinks that we're all kaifim right now and we're done.
Great cliffhanger.
That's a great cliffhanger, right? Scary cliffhanger. Victor does not like the cliffhanger.
I love it.
But it means that Victor's coming back on Wednesday night. Okay, Shkoyach, guys.
There's no doubt.
There's no doubt. Now there's no doubt. Shkoyach, guys. Have a great night, Bez Hashem.